want to turn our attention towards digital marketing. I think for a lot of us, being a health professional, it maybe feels a little bit uncomfortable because digital marketing is more for, you know, nice to haves and not serious medical things. And then we think about the whole parameters of not touting and practicing ethically. What I do talk about later on, and this is kind of tied into our whole approach to this new world of work, Industry 4.0, and being a therapist in Industry 4.0, is that we've got to be mindful that you can't just be a psychologist or a psychometrist or a counselor or a coach. In terms of transitioning into Industry 4.0, we've got to think outside the box, like my little glass analogy, in terms of how do I take my skills and expertise and how do I start transferring that across different offerings for my clients. And that can be in various shapes or forms. That could be the psychologist that creates a course around conflict communication and delivers that to corporates. That could be in the realm of a psychometrist coming up with a online preference for career counseling for their clients. So we've really got to challenge ourselves and look at ways in which we can transfer those skills differently. Quick snapshot from my side. I started Holiston as a psychometric consultancy primarily. That was what we were doing and all we were doing. So it was assessing for the purposes of selection. That was it. And through time and just the evolution of the business, you put your energy towards where you're getting traction or where the market is demonstrating their desire for your services. And through time, what I personally did was I drew on my repertoire of skills, including the copywriting and I guess a bit of the marketing. So one snapshot of one of my offerings from Holiston is doing candidates' personal branding packages. So within that realm, what we do is, okay, let me tell you about the diamond package, is we utilize psychometric assessments to tap their strengths and their developmental areas. We have a session, we have an intake, and we unpack that. Okay, we draw up a PDP in terms of this person's personal development plan going forward, how to developmental areas. And from that, we collate all the data. So the data from the psychometrics, the data from the sessions, and we draw up a trajectory for this candidate's pathway forwards. That then informs the CV, that informs their LinkedIn profile, that informs their cover letter. So what you have is this beautiful package, this personal branding package that Holiston delivers. And if you had told me 6 years ago that's like one part of the business that exploded, I would have never have believed it. Like, CV writing, are you serious? But I didn't just do CV writing. I followed the demands of the market and I combined my expertise. So that's one part of my business. And like I said, it's just, especially during COVID-19, it's exploding. Linza, we need to talk because I'm getting to the point now where I'm going to have to start referring work.
You're reading my mind.
I've really been trying to field all the inquiries, but I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And yeah, it's just, I like to have my fingers in many pies. I don't like to just do one thing. So it's taking too much of my time. The other adventures that I have, okay, so I might as well announce it now. Some of you may know this, some of you may not. I have put it out there in terms of these workshops being the last contact sessions, although this is in the virtual space. So the last batch of sessions that we are going to be having. And the reason for that, and I wanted to do this big, amazing launch, which I still will, but you are privy to this information. So the big reveal is that this is going to be packaged into a digital product that we're going to market not just in South Africa, but globally. Very excited about it. In terms of the differences is obviously we're going to do away with the specific stuff like HPCSA or WAC bank accounts or what. But it's going to be more detailed. It's going to be over a 12-week period, and it's going to be very practical. So I'm very excited about this product. That's the first product of 2 for this year. The next one is how to these people in terms of how to empower them with their CVs, but also in terms of interview coaching, XYZ. So that's coming up later. But the good news for each and every attendee as my gift to you, just because I sincerely appreciate not one of you, ladies, over all 20 bookings that we had, 20 bookings, nobody requested a refund for chasing the dream, which is really, it means a lot to me. So thank you. And as a token of my appreciation, every single lady that has attended last week's and today, that's booked for these workshops, is going to have complimentary access to the digital version of the course, which goes into a lot more detail. So I'm so excited about that. We're looking at launching in August. I'm working very hard. But anyway, so my point of my whole highfalutin story is that as professionals, as health professionals, we can't just be an X or a Y or a Z. In fact, this advice spans outside of health professionals. In order to be robust, in order to be resilient against Industry 4.0, we've got to start thinking bigger picture. You can't just be a teacher. You can't just be a doula. Chrissy's a great example of that. Chrissy's not just a doula. She is a, wait for it, placenta encapsulation specialist. She's a rep for amazing baby products. She does Reiki, she does baby massage, she does belly binding. So it's not a case of doing things that are so far away from what your brand and your value is, your value proposition. It's doing things that you enjoy, that you're good at, and that can align to your vision and mission. And that's what I encourage you to do. So as we dip into digital media marketing now, please don't think with the traditional mindset that this is very odd. Why is she showing us this stuff if I'm trying to get clients for therapeutic purposes? You're absolutely not going to be advertising your services as a psychologist, okay? That's not ethical. But with the mindset of starting to think outside the box of how you can transfer those skills laterally, you can now employ some of these tactics to get some traction for those business ideas, those solutions. Okay. So without any further ado, let's head into digital marketing. So there's something called the social media golden rule, and it goes like this. It's 1 to 9 to 90. In other words, okay, let's start with 90%. 90% of the world population will consume content. 9% of the world population will share content, but only 1% of the world population is going to create that content. So what you want to position yourself to be as a thought leader in the health fraternity or psychology fraternity is being a content creator. And I know many of you are thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not a content creator. I can't do that. Trust me, you've gone to university for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, okay? You've been in the work environment for 5, 10, I don't care if it's 2 years. You've got so much content sitting up here. Trust me, you have a message that people want to absorb, they want to listen to, okay? And you're probably thinking why. I'll tell you why in a sec. So in terms of content really is king, okay? I don't know if all of you, some of you, none of you follow me on social, but as lockdown happened, I did a lot of media interviews with 5FM. I was on Newsroom Africa. That was literally just within a few weeks into lockdown. And would you believe that I did not pitch to one media house? Not one. The media came to me, and the reason they came to me is because of the content I was sharing. So as lockdown happened, everybody freaked out. I decided, I'm like, okay, no, I've got to help people now. I've got to give people some advice so that they don't lose their shit. So I put together a series of blogs in terms of empowering people and how to cope with this craziness that was happening in our lives. And it got attention. It got attention not just from the public, but from the media as well. And that's why, yeah, it wasn't me going hunting for some media gigs. It was literally them calling, going, hey, can you interview tomorrow? And I'd be like, okay, all right, no problem. So that just shows you how powerful content can be. I've been contacted by people. I mean, I've got a long, complicated name. They have found my details because they saw me on TV. So, and that was for a project around sort of career assessments and whatnot. So there are so many opportunities before us, and content is definitely a massive platform that I would encourage you to dabble with. Okay, so when we start talking about social media and sort of different platforms for what to consider, in terms of content marketing, the way in which you can get your content across are your blogs, your newsletters. Okay, so if you run your own website through whether it be Weebly or Wix or whatever, you'll have your blog page. In terms of newsletters, I'm not sure if many of you know, MailChimp is the go-to platform for newsletters. So under 2,000 subscribers, MailChimp is free. Only thereafter you'll start paying to use it. So it's a free platform for 2,000 or less. And it's a way in which you can communicate with your clients, which you can communicate with your audience. Other ways of making use of digital marketing is your advertising. Okay, so we'll get to that a little bit later. In terms of what really gains people's attention, and according to research, and you just have to open your eyes and look at social media platforms, but you'll see they're becoming more and more visual. Okay, so back in the day we had Facebook and it was just status updates, and then it allowed us to do pictures, and then along came MySpace, then it was Instagram, okay, Twitter was back in the day with Facebook. But you'll see that the way in which we're going is people gravitate towards content that is visually stimulating. So to create visually stimulating content, there is an amazing web application. I'm sure many of you know of it. I don't know. It's called canva.com. Again, remember all these links, all these little nuggets of knowledge or whatever are going to be available in your resource pack. And canva.com is a design program that's literally click and drag. Not even my 7-year-old, probably my 5-year-old nephew could operate Canva. It's that easy, not intimidating at all. So just to create some very beautiful imagery. You can use Canva for social media. You can create your presentations. You can do CVs. You can create your email signatures, business cards. In fact, I use Canva to create the whole graphics. The whole graphic of my book from front to back. Didn't use any Illustrator, nothing. I literally used a free design program, and the whole thing was free. It didn't cost me a cent. So that's an amazing resource to be mindful of. A couple of questions I want to ask you in terms of having a look at your business, your core business, okay, looking at what you offer. Perhaps play therapists, maybe you also offer educational toys as part of your practice. I don't know. So ask yourself a couple of these questions, okay? And this is just to really establish what forum or what social media platform you should be really engaging with. Ask yourself, do you offer a product like the example I just gave? If it's something tangible that can be seen, touched, or felt, then you want to consider forums like Facebook or perhaps even Pinterest, maybe even Instagram, all right? Are you the face or the sole employee of your business? If yes, then look at Twitter, look at LinkedIn. Is your business specifically geared towards business people or businesses directly, so B2B? Perhaps then look at Twitter, look at LinkedIn. the one thing I want you to remember is don't try and do it all, okay? Don't try and be on every single social media platform. Be very strategic in terms of which ones you want to target. I would say a good estimate would be 3 platforms, okay? So whether that be your LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, that would be great. So focus on about 3. Okay. All right, as we have established, content is king. Now, I'm going to allude to how Google AdWords work, okay? But I am a person who likes to ensure that I use as many free things as possible, okay? So I really try and be frugal when it comes to running my business, keeping it agile, keeping it lean. This is the terminology that businesses are encompassing as we move into the future. So in the spirit of being an agile and lean business, I try to keep my costs when it comes to marketing as low as possible. In fact, I don't exactly have a marketing budget. In fact, I don't. I've utilized paid for advertising once. All my traction, all my brand awareness has been completely organic. And the way it's been organic is through my content, okay? So just some quick tips as well. When you are writing content, ensure that your keywords, the theme of the article, make sure that you're bolding it. So if you're writing about coping mechanisms for the stay-at-home wife during COVID-19, make sure that you're bolding your keywords like COVID-19, resilience, stay-at-home wife, anxiety, depression, coping, whatever. So make sure that you're bolding that, because Google actually picks up on those keywords so that it bolsters your content when somebody is searching for a topic that relates to what you're writing about. Another good idea is whether you are putting imagery onto your websites or social media platforms. When you save that image, I beg your pardon, when you save that image, ensure that you're saving it named as what it's communicating. So let's say you've got a picture that goes along with your article, then name that picture Mom during COVID-19, okay? Because what Google does once again is it looks at the names of the images on the back end, and again will bolster your content higher and higher up the Google page. Okay, so those are some tips that some people didn't know. But yes, content certainly is king. In terms of some good ideas on how to get your content across, I would recommend regular blog posts, okay? Ebooks are as simple as writing something in Word and PDFing it. And when I say ebook, it's something that is short and sweet and can be consumed in an afternoon, something that is of value, something that's going to have an impact on your audience's life. Content in the form of maybe company news or announcements of what's happening in your business or practice, industry events, seasonal content, case studies, infographics, photographs, or videos. So those are all just different ways that you can bring your content across. Okay. I beg your pardon. All right, so now we're going to be looking at your social media strategy and how do you come up with such in terms of your content marketing. Okay. So in terms of the transport or the execution of your strategy, content calendars are pivotal. When I worked at the radio station, we had our entire year mapped out for us in terms of content. Obviously, we were flexible. So, I mean, even prior to Madiba's death, many, many years prior to his death, we had an entire protocol in terms of content and music and announcements and jingles and everything that was kind of just stored aside. But our entire content calendar every year was mapped out, and the content that we would use for specific themes like your Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, Youth Month, whatever, was clustered then into our folders. You don't have to be as as excessive as that. But in terms of having a basic content calendar, and whether it be looking at what are the themes happening around the world, or perhaps even creating your own themes for your content calendar. Now, that calendar can be in the form of an app or a simple spreadsheet in Excel. All right. A good app to use is something called HubSpot. All right. But again, Microsoft Excel works just fine. And within that spreadsheet, you're going to have your date and time of posting, your blog post title, and the link to your full blog. Those keywords for SEO. So when I was talking about the bolded words, make sure that you're not, let's say you were writing about stay-at-home mom during COVID-19. How does she cope? Don't say C19, coronavirus, COVID-19. I want you to try and repeat the same keywords as many times as possible, okay? But just because we adore you, you're going to get your content calendar as part of your resource pack, and you just have to populate the information. But in terms of the way it's structured for the whole year, that is available in your resource pack. Okay, so let's take a look at Copywriting 101. So you don't have to be a salesperson, please. You know, we're health professionals for a reason. You don't have to be a proficient copywriter, okay? Even though I've done copywriting for advertising in the past, I still am learning things every day. But the fundamentals are this, and you'll get this because you'll feel the same, is that people don't like being sold to, okay? It's just kitsch. Now, many years ago, when I was still studying, like I said, I've always been a kind of a hustler. So I've always been hustling work. And
Hi there.
has it? Who may I ask is?
I can't hear you. I lost sound there.
Oh, sorry. Can everybody else hear me?
Okay,
or?
I'm going to log out and log in again.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Christy, you'll just make sure that this lady is admitted again.
Sure.
Thanks, darling. Okay, so many years ago, I used to work as an in-store announcer at Builder's Warehouse. And I don't know how I did it for so long, you know, when you're a student. And yeah, anyway. So I think the reason that I can't say I despised the job, but I didn't enjoy the job is because I was under pressure to move stock, right? So management would say to me, okay, we've got 20 drills to get rid of at $1.99, get rid of them. So I'd have to create hype and whatever. And I mean, it got so bad in terms of like when the activation started, jumping in front of clients and bringing them through and showing them these damn drills. And it was horrendous. It was a time in my life that I'm glad is part of the past. But the lesson there is, remember when I used to jump out at people, they used to run for their lives. People don't like being sold to, okay? There's nothing more irritating than someone coming up to you with a hard sell. So when you're writing, and in fact, ladies, here's something that I just want you to encompass with the way in which you do your business, whether it be workshops, whether it be creating packages, like I said, educational toys, whether it be ebooks, whether it be courses, anything like that. The number one thing you need to keep at the top of your mind is value, okay? I can promise you this right now. If you give your client value, if you give them more than what they expected, you will cement that partnership, okay? You will have a long, fruitful business relationship with that person for many, many, many years. Psychologists or counselors, when I'm talking in this language, please try and liken it to the partnership that you have with the school that you are contracted at, okay? Or the company that you've got a gig at to deliver a wellness presentation to people that, you know, that the company are afraid might be experiencing anxiety during COVID-19. So when I talk about business relationships, that's the mindset, that's the hat that you got to wear. I'm not talking about your patients, okay? If you give your client value more than what they expected, not only will they come back, they're going to tell their peers about you as well, and you're going to get more business. And I promise you, it has worked. It has worked so well for me. Now, I've been on both sides of the coin, okay? I've been that person that wants to deliver and wants to, you know, make waves. And I've been that person that's made the mistake of making these incredible, not promises, but yes, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, you know, and yeah, that deadline's perfect. I've overcommitted and I've underdelivered because I couldn't. And I've suffered the consequence of that and lost that client, okay? So I've been on that side as well. Hear me out. Rather under-promise and over-deliver. Okay, but in terms of, that's not just your stance with business, please encompass the same stance when it comes to your writing. It's all about value. So when you start sharing your content, 85% of the words that you write need to be useful information. Okay, you're not writing about yourself. You're not writing about how amazing you are. I know you wouldn't do that, but you're writing about something that's going to impact that person reading it. Okay, you're speaking to that one person. I know that your reach is potentially 100 or 1,000 or 100,000, but when you're writing to one person. We keep the same sort of stance when it comes to radio. Listen to the radio next time, but listen to it with this ear, is that the presenter doesn't speak to an audience. That presenter is speaking to you in your car. You, that's the terminology they use. They don't go, hey guys, or how's everyone? It's about how is your day? Okay, so that's who you need to be talking to. Can you see I'm doing the same thing? All right. You need to build trust with your audience when it comes to copywriting, when it comes to marketing, okay? Because once they trust you, they're going to want to listen to what you have to say. Now, this is, please, I mean, this is not a kitsch salesy approach at all. If we encompass what I'm saying in the true sense that it's meant to come across in terms of sharing value, having an impact, isn't it beautifully in alignment with who we are as health practitioners in any case? Is that we do want to make a difference. We want to uplift people. We want to help. We want to develop. We want to console. So if we can just pull into that approach, it's not salesy, okay? Because once you've built trust, you're not going to have to try and sell yourself. People are going to gravitate towards you. Here's another question, interesting notion as well, and I don't know who to ask. Melida, let me ask you because I can see you, my darling. So unmute yourself, and I want to ask you this. Okay, you're working as a psychometrist in government, that's right, eh? Melida, unmute yourself.
Okay.
So let's say you had to just do it, okay. Say you had to start your practice tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Who would benefit from purchasing psychometric assessments from you?
I'm thinking of the recruitment agencies, the HR people in recruitment. That's what was in my mind, more than the school kids. I think my mind is on the recruitment side, okay, than the career counseling, than the school assessment.
Okay, so within that, you've said recruitment and HR. Yes. What kind of recruitment? All recruitment? I mean, who could benefit from your assessments?
You know, the employers, who's gonna hire people? He will want to get people that maybe showing potential, right attitude, or depending on the assessment, what they really want in terms of selection. And then I think the employer will be able to get the right people or potential people. And again, I also think that the person that is recruited also may be able to be adjusting depending on what is assessed, what is required to do. That's what's in my mind.
Thank you, my darling. You can mute yourself. So you've given me exactly the answer that I wanted. And I'm just going to use one word out of your sentence, but you said employers. So who can benefit? Well, within that you said recruiters, HR, but essentially employers. Employers encompasses everything. It's exactly the answer I wanted. but it's exactly the mindset I encompassed in the beginning, which is too broad. Hear me out. Hear me out. Now, I'm not a fisherman. I don't even know how it works, okay? But if you think that your products could be to use or could be for use for the whole market. So if you go fishing and you want to go fishing and you just, I don't know, decide to go into the sea and throw out your net and hope for the best, okay? The probability of you catching the fish that you want is very low, as opposed to a person that strategizes and looks at exactly which way the current's going, which location I need to go to, which breed of fish is where, what kind of apparatus I'm going to use, what time of day I'm going to go, and then actually executing that and catching the fish that you want to catch, okay? So in essence, what I'm trying to say to everybody is that if you think that everybody, your clientele is everybody, if you are a psychologist and you think, no, well, everybody that has issues can benefit from seeing me, you got it wrong. If you are a psychometrist and you think that every business can benefit from psychometric assessments, you've got it wrong. Why do I say that? We're living in a time and place where people are spoiled for choice, okay? We've got niche markets. When you want to go and get some chicken, you're not going to go, hey, let's go get chicken. You're like, okay, I wonder if I feel like some Nando's peri-peri, or maybe I want some fried chicken with KFC or whatnot. We've got choice, okay? We are spoiled for choice. The same goes for our markets. They are spoiled for choice. They know exactly what they want. So you're going to yield far more success if you know exactly who your niche market is, who you want to be aligning with, who you want to be working with. You're going to experience far more success if you target that niche market. Okay, and the same goes in terms of your writing. You need to be writing for a very specific market. It doesn't mean that you have to have one market. You can have multiple audiences. Within Holiston, I've got multiple audiences. My audience includes my client avatar, but business. We'll talk about my particular style of business. My second audience are health professionals, such as yourselves, when I appeal to advertising my courses or books or anything like that. And my third market are professionals that need support with interviews, CVs, coaching. Okay, so I've got different audiences, but when I write for them, I write specifically for them. I don't try and encompass everybody into that one basket. All right. When you're writing as well, utilize storytelling techniques. People they like to listen to something that's relatable to them. Which is kind of why I've been telling a lot of stories along the way as well. And invoke reciprocity, okay? If something was impactful, and you've done it as well, okay, I'm sure some of us are part of the 9% in that we've shared things on social media without being asked to. If something is, okay, so if something's cute or funny or whatever, but if something benefits us, we're going to share it, okay? So invite that reciprocity. In terms of allowing people, allowing them to want to share your content because it had such a profound impact on their lives. And of course, just this is the way we roll. Obviously, copywriting goes a lot more in depth. So there is a beautiful book that I read recently. You can read it in an afternoon. It's nice and quick. It's a PDF. And it's basically your crash course to creating really compelling copywriting material, okay? So in terms of your social media campaigns, let's go through this quickly because I see that we have so much to get through. I'm so excited to get through it with you. I don't want to leave anything out. So when you're drawing up your social media campaign, start with your campaign purpose, okay? So look at your business plan. Why am I doing this? What is my business objective? Why does my consultancy or my practice exist? What is the benefit of this campaign? All right. Every post should take you towards your goal. And what is your goal? Is your social media goal to create some brand awareness so that people can see that, oh wow, there's this dynamic, amazing clinical practice in my local area? Or is it a call to action? Do you want more people to be engaging with you and clicking through to your website? Perhaps you're selling some great psychometric material, some assessments, some instruments, and there's more of a call to action for people to click through. What is your goal, all right? What is your campaign purpose? In terms of your brand value, this is more like the how. So great campaigns are built on great ideals and not great ideas. In other words, you need to define what are those values, what are those ideals that align with other people. What do they value? What is their ideal? And then you need to demonstrate that in action. So say, for example, your ideal is relationships. Okay, the ideal is getting people to communicate with less conflict. Then perhaps in a storytelling way, you can, you can focus the journey on a couple. I have seen one of my colleagues do this. She's actually brilliant at this, Candace Black. She attended my workshop a couple of years ago, and she actually does these beautiful case studies of her couples that have come through the coaching or the counseling process, and in terms of the profound impact that it had. So that was the ideal, and the way in which it was brought across was in a storytelling manner that really grabbed your attention when you watched it. Okay, in terms of your brand message, this is the what. What's the business message that's being delivered by your campaign? Your brand message could be directly stated or inferred, but you need to know what are you trying to communicate, okay? Next up, we've got your primary audience. So this goes kind of back into my niche markets that we were talking about. Don't try and appeal to everybody. Know exactly who your audience is and be very specific when you speak to them, all right? Don't try and appeal to everybody. Identify your primary audience, and those are the people that are going to love your content. The wider audience may see your campaign, but only if it's super appealing to your core audience first will they then maybe take some notice of what you've had to say. Now, when I say influencer community, okay, I very tactfully or tactically use this picture because this is not what I mean by the influencer community. But we have to look at let's just unpack influencers and why they've become so powerful in marketing is because people they want to relate to other people, what they have to say, all right? So when I'm talking about influencer community within this realm, I'm talking about aligning yourselves with professionals, and it doesn't just have to be in alignment with, let's say, psychologist and a psychologist. Let's say me as a psychometrist, I align myself with coaches, psychologists, as well as recruiters, okay? I've got other colleagues, I call them colleagues, other entrepreneurs that have very similar visions and values. Values is the big one to me, to my business, in terms of wanting to support, wanting to uplift, wanting to do good. I align myself to them, and they've become my brand ambassadors as much as I've become theirs. So they're sharing, you know, a heck of a lot of content, my content onto their platforms, vice versa. But they really have become my, not custodians, but my ambassadors. And this has also been incredible in terms of getting that business through different networking, okay? All right, what is the activation? So in other words, how do people get involved with this campaign? For example, is there an event? Is it real? Is it a virtual event? Is there a call to action? Do I have to put my email address in somewhere to get that free ebook on how to build resilience during torrid times? Other examples could include an interactive website, a hot issue, a competition, so on and so forth, okay? The topic relates to your brand message, the audience, and the influencer community. Find something that's relevant to your brand and the community. Next up, we've got to pick a creative theme. So to stand out online, you've got to be creative. How will your campaign be interesting, and how will it be instantly recognizable? Are you going to use a particular character, a little persona, maybe a music theme? So some of you, I don't know if you're familiar with the tool Shadow Match. All right, so I went to some training with Shadow Match some time ago, a few weeks ago, and we were giving some input into the videos that they had created for their marketing campaign. And I remember one of the ladies said, you know, Peter, I love the stuff that you've created, but the one thing is the song is driving me nuts. Every time I hear that same, you know, the same little whistle or jingle, it's driving me crazy. And Peter provided such a good response in that, you know, for us that are very familiar with something, or if we're working in the business or whatnot, it can drive us mad. But those songs or those little jingles, that association, it brings the attention of the audience to that product or whatever it is. If you think of McDonald's, I'm loving it, you know, as soon as you hear that sort of that jingle, you're associated to the product. So how are you going to be different? How are you going to be creative? Okay, and in terms of the point of conversion, okay, this relates to the original campaign purpose. What core piece of information will bring the campaign together? The online focal point for the campaign. How do you confirm if a person has successfully participated in your social media campaign? Remember, each post contributes to the bigger picture. So your points of conversion could be something like looking at your community engagement. How many people are liking what you're putting out there? How many people are commenting? What do your analytics look like on the back end? Maybe it's how many signups are you receiving for your newsletter? So you define what is the point of conversion. You define those metrics. Okay, so let's look at advertising. Again, I know some of you are getting the heebie-jeebies, like, hey, I'm a therapist, I ain't an advertiser. Okay, so hear me out again. We're not talking to the patients or anything like that. We are not touting. Okay, we're talking about coming up with solutions if you're looking at B2C, or if you're looking at B2B, coming up with, again, solutions for business. And this encompasses our psychologists as well, and our counselors as well, in terms of coming up with solutions that real individuals are experiencing. So I was contacted some time ago by a gentleman, part of a steel company, and he was really worried about his team because he said, I mean, this is a highly educated guy, he's got his PhD, he's an engineer, he's been running his business for over a decade, and he said for the first time in his life, he's feeling out of sorts. He's lacking motivation, his energy levels are low, and he's feeling like anxious or something. It's so foreign to him. And he's like, if this is me, and you know, like I don't scare easily, I'm pretty resilient. How are my team coping? And so he contracted me to come and do a wellness Zoom talk for his team. So it's a lovely avenue for our psychologists and counselors. That business, these are individuals at the end of the day in business, okay? And this is a great sort of angle in terms of appealing to business to support their human capital. Okay, so after that spiel, let's talk about advertising in terms of that realm, all right? I just want to use one platform right now as a case study, okay? So we're not going to unpack Instagram and Snapchat and all those fun things. We're going to unpack Facebook right now. And the reason for that is that Facebook has 2 billion monthly active users, okay? Let's just have a look at some of these metrics. So if we look at the typical gender, we've got 75% of men versus 83% of women who are on Facebook. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, no, you know, Facebook is so old-fashioned, like all the oldies are on Facebook, like all the youngsters are now going to other social media platforms. Okay, let's look at the metrics. If we look at your 18 to 29-year-olds, that's 88%, okay? That's the highest proportion is that group. Those aren't oldies. 30 to 49-year-olds, 84%. 50 to 64-year-olds, that's a decent statistic. There are a lot of mature people on Facebook. I mean, over 65 years old, that's more than half the population, the American population that's on Facebook. I mean, that's quite something. So at the end of the day, remember that you want to be appealing to economically active people. So when we're talking about 17 years and younger, okay, and they are on Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok and all those fun forums, but they're not economically active. They're not going to be spending with you in any case. So you want to be on Facebook because this is where people are working and people are more obliging to looking at what you have on offer. In terms of some stats for Facebook specifically, okay, every 60 seconds, there are 317,000 status updates. That's every minute. Every minute, this blows my mind, there are 400 new users, new signups every minute. Whew. Every minute, 147,000 photos and 54,000 shared links. It's incredible. Yeah. If you look at people specifically in the US, how they spend their time online, I mean, crikey, gaming, which is a massive industry, only accounts for 11% versus Facebook at 19%. It's massive. If you look at sports or lifestyle, I mean, think of online shopping, it's a smidge compared to your Facebook at 19%. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. My point at the end of the day is that my point is not your bonus. My point is that if you want to be utilizing a forum to sell your products, sell any solutions that you have for business, then you seriously need to be considering Facebook as a forum.